We always spend hours surfing the internet to look for the golden pieces of designs to take as references for our projects. Let's say that after hours you have everything set up, everything is in place, and you have all these compositions to work with. But now the question is, what the fuck do I do with those? Well, friends, don't worry because I got your back, and today I'm gonna show you everything about how I work with references in my workflow, how I pick things, details, and how I mesh everything together to create stunning and amazing compositions. Basically, I'm gonna show you how can you create professionally looking web designs.
First of all, before I start searching for hours for the right references, I started by writing down and noting down some of the keywords that came out from the meeting with the client. For example, in this project, what came out was something romantic, with an editorial style, something really premium, but at the same time classic. And the main element was the bottle opener, and we're going to see in just a minute how it was implemented also in the logo. I write the keywords down because in that way I can keep myself on track when I have to search for the right references from the internet, and I don't choose something that is off from the vision of the client. I'm gonna save you from a lot of pain, suffering, and I'm gonna save you also a lot of time because I already chose the right references for this project. I'm gonna show you from where I picked them and the reason why I picked them. Starting from the assets that the client sent me after the meeting, we have the labels of the bottles, and we have some 3D models of the bottles, some compositions that they wanted to use for the socials. We also have this element that the client told me that they want to have as a detail in the website, and it is also going to be a detail on social medias, on all the posts, etc. So it's really crucial to keep that and to use this into the website. We're gonna see how to use it in a second, it's not a problem right now. This is the logo and the concept behind. Basically, as I said, we have the bottle opener, which is the main element of the entire concept and the entire brand. And here in the logo, we can see that we have the S and this line that is going to create this bottle opener effect. So it's a really nice implementation and I really like it, and we're gonna use this as an animation for the website. These are some concepts for Instagram, and I think that these colors works really well together, so we're gonna use them into the website in some sections. Of course, we're not gonna use, for example, the pink for the background because it's too much. It's time to see some references that I took from other websites. For example, I usually use and I always use Pinterest as a website for references. It's extremely nice and also safe. So you have a lot of concepts, beautiful, super high quality. So I highly recommend you to use these two websites for references, especially if you want to create minimal designs. As you can see, I also divided the references in composition and type. Composition. For this particular project, I didn't have to create the branding, so to choose typefaces and colors, but I already had this information. In that way, I could focus more on the composition side of things and focusing more on the layout. For instance, in this reference, I really liked the font pairing because we have a really big typeface with a really small one, so we have a lot of contrast, and we're gonna use this concept because in the design I want to have an extremely high contrast between the elements. Last but not least, this reference is for the first section of the website because as we saw in the last video that I've made about creating the wireframes for this website, and if you haven't checked it out, go watch it because it's super important if you want to get better with wireframes. I was thinking about putting the drone footage in the background and some kind of elements, some composition in the foreground, but with the drone footage the colors are going to change. We need to see it. Super useful tip that I can give you is to think ahead about the background images, videos, etc. Think about creating something that is going to always work in terms of contrast. So these are the references and let's start designing. We don't have to waste time. For this project we have two typefaces that we have to use that the client sent to me, and the first one being Noia World from the studio Pangram Pangram, by the way a super nice typeface, and the second one which I don't know anything about, but we have to use it, so it's okay. But if you want to know more about how to choose the right typefaces for the right projects to convey certain emotions and feelings, let me know in the comments down below that I'm more than happy to help you. First step is to choose the right size for the different parts of the copy, titles, paragraphs, etc. And I generally use typescale.com. It's an extremely useful website, so I highly recommend you to use it. And because I love a lot of contrast into my websites, I choose one size and then I skip one and I go with the other one. So in that way, between the first size and the second one, there is quite a bit of contrast. For instance, let's imagine that we have a title, the main titles, the subtitles, subtitles and then the paragraphs. For the first one, I want to use something really big, so for example 287 pixels as a size for the text, and for the subtitle, as I said, we skip this size and we go with the other one, so we create a bit of a contrast. For paragraphs, I don't follow the rule to skip one size and then go with the next one, but I choose something really small, especially in e-commerces where the user experience is the main focus. I don't want to keep paragraphs really big. Unless this is the style that you're looking for, I highly recommend you to keep paragraphs really small or with a small text size, because it adds to the user experience and we have in that way a lot of contrast. So everything for the type is in place, and now we can move on to the composition side of the page. As we saw in the wireframes, we need to find a replacement for the drone footage that we want to put in the background, and I go into Unsplash and let's find some images. Something like that perfectly works for our scenario, so let's put it in our canvas, resize it, and I want to put something on the foreground, make everything looks more cinematic. We have some logos, so maybe we can try to put something like that, and again we need to see if everything works with the contrast, etc. The idea here is to use the logo as an interactive element, so because the main focus, the main element of the entire experience is going to be a bottle opener, I want to use the S and this line, so as the user scrolls down, the S rotates and we basically grab the next section and we pull it up from the bottom. So it's like we discovered the website in a really nice way, and it's like opening a bottle of wine basically. I don't know if it makes sense, but I would just wanted to explain you how my vision for the project and for the first section. So here we have the logo on top of the image, and now we can expand the section. Now for the background of the website, I want to use this brown because generally speaking we associate the brown as a color earth. It looks pretty luxury paired with a yellow that we have in our color palette. So for instance, let's say that I want to add a title in the next section of the website and I want to apply the yellow color to this text. So you can see that everything starts to look more vintage, but at the same time luxury and editorial, and it checks all the boxes for the look and feel that the client wants to have at the end, so it's perfect. And we have some references, and now is the time that we're starting to use the actual references that we chose previously. For this title, I want to apply this concept, so we have some big typefaces and then some really small ones. We add a lot of contrast and we add details by using parentheses. Basically, we add a lot of details and contrast with just typefaces. So let's start playing with that and let's see what comes out. So I ended up with these two slightly different compositions, and I'm not sure which one I want to use, so let me know in the comments down below which one of these two do you think is the best one. The first one looks more organized, more clear, but it's not that different from other compositions. Maybe we can put everything in upper cases like the second try. I think that this looks better. Instead, in the second try, we have something more different with the coordinates. By the way, I didn't have to put the coordinates, but I think that adds more details and personality to the website. I think that I'm going to use the second one just because it's more different. We keep this one if the client says that they want to have this one instead of the second try that I've done. So as you can see, I've applied this concept that we have in this reference in my own way to this title and this composition, and I've created something different. When you choose designs as references, it's important that you don't copy the design as it is, but that you understand the concept behind it, the process, and that you do it in your own way. And it's critical to create something different from all the other designers that are online. We have a problem in the connection between the two sections because right now everything looks too flat, we don't have details, but there is something that is going to work for us. Again, another reference directly from the branding of the client. We have this wavy line that divides the two parts of the concept, the copy and the logo, and we can use the same line to divide and to create a connection between the different sections if we have something in the background or some images. So let's reproduce the line and apply it in our concept. So here we have it, and it doesn't matter if it's perfectly the same as the one that the client sent to us. This is not a main element of the website. It's okay if you don't make it perfect. Right now you're going to see a super fantastic magic because you can see that we have a seamless transition between the... Let's move it down to use less space so we have more real estate to show the drone footage. This is what I like because we are creating a super nice experience. For the following section, which is the farm one, I have this perfect image that I found on the internet. I don't remember where, but it already has all the borders that fade out, and it's perfect because I want to apply this concept that I have in this reference right here. So basically I want to have the map in the left side of the page, and on top I want to put some call to actions for the user to discover more details about some sections of the farm. So let's add the map into our landing page, and I can already see that it is too big. So let's make it a bit smaller and place it on top on the title. So in that way we create more depth into our design. Now, because we want to create a super editorial vintage look, but at the same time really luxury, I don't really like the colors of the map. So let's drop down the saturation and some exposure because otherwise it's going to be too white. So something like that. And now I want to add some call to actions on top of the different sections of the map. And I think that I'm going to use the red and the yellow as the colors for call to actions because I think that they work really well together. So let's add some buttons to add on top of the map. Let's start with a rectangle, add some text, like something like discover. Let's choose the font, and I want to use, just to give more character to the call to action, I want to use this one. Again, let's make the text a bit bigger and add it on top of the rectangle. Let's change the colors because of course we don't want to keep gray and white. I want to add some roundness to the bottom and something like that should perfectly work. Now it's time to add them on top of the map. Something like that randomly placed because of course this is not going to be the right image, but this gives the idea of how things should work and should look. Moving on to the next section, which is the latest product. It's a kind of call to action to the e-commerce, to the shop page. For this one, really simple. I just want to use this kind of composition right here that the brand is going to use on all the socials. First of all, because this section is really important, I think that the red as a background color in this portion of the section is really nice to have. And on the right side, we can add an image that I saved from the presentation that the client sent to me. Since we have to give a lot of importance to the product, I think that we can have a small call to action on the left side, some details, etc., and then a really big image. Again, guys, I can already see that the division between the two sections, we have the same problems as before. We need to add some details and a seamless transition between the sections, so we can reutilize this element right here. It's pretty nice, and we add personality to the website, so something like that should perfectly work. Let's add it also on top of the image, and this whole section looks pretty nice also because it adds this sense of paper. So yeah, I think it adds a lot to the website. Now it's time to add the details of the product, nothing fancy or crazy, just a title and some lines for details, a description, a button, and maybe the logo. So one product that you want to have is the Merlot 2023 edition, so let's add that and put it in like that, so as a title. Let's take the secondary font, the sans serif one, and add 2 lines just as a description. I don't know, let's invent something. By the way, guys, don't forget to follow your font sizes rules that you've decided at the beginning of the project and keep everything consistent in terms of font sizes. So here I have my paragraph, I have my title, and now it's time to add a call to action because of course we want to go and redirect the user to the shop page. Here, to make the call to action more visible, I want to use the white that they gave me because in that way we make it pop more and it's more visible. And the text, I want to use the red because white and red always work. Now, because we want to have consistency between the elements, it's always good to have the rounded corners for every single call to actions in this website. Like that, it looks really nice. And another thing that I want to add to give more personality to the website and to keep everything connected, I want to add the logo because as you can see on all the labels that we can have on the bottles, we have the logo. So I want to have the same concept applied on the website. So with the logo and this element that we've previously added, everything looks really extremely neat. By the way, because we want to make everyone happy, I want to add an animation. So if you're a fan of animations, I just want to add an animation here to make everything more interactive. I want to have an infinite scroll for this text that says release, and it's really nice also with the same color of the background, so it's like it creates this whole effect in the label, if it makes sense, which by the way is the same concept that we have in this reference on the labels. Basically we have some layers below and then a layer above, and then we can see through these different layers. So we have interactivity, we have details, we have everything basically. This section is done. Next section is the about one, and they told me that they want to have this image, so I thought maybe we can have this in the background because it's going to be this one and nothing else, not a video. Super easy to work with the contrast, with all the ants that appear from all over the place, so I think that we can have something like that. By the way, we haven't used some colors that they gave to me and that I saw in the brand's guidelines, basically the pink and basically nothing else but just the pink, but we are going to use the pink paired with the red. Why? Because they want to have some posts on Instagram, something like that, so we're going to connect the Instagram post to the website so everything is familiar for the user. Again, we want to achieve a super editorial look, and as you can see, every single concept and reference that I took was a magazine, a poster, so I think that I'm going to use the poster concept in this section. By the way, to add a simple canvas for our poster is extremely easy. If you want to have everything perfect, the size and the aspect ratio, just print for Figma and you can use ISO A for create and you have the poster. Let's center it in the middle of our composition, and it's time to change the color of the canvas. Basically we are going to use the pink, beautiful pink. It's also super nice because we have a black and white image in the background and we also have some red from the previous section, so everything connects perfectly. Now it's time to add the title for this poster, and we can use something like story, and we can resize the typeface because of course it's too big for this small canvas. Let's change the color, and I also want to use the red for the actual content of the poster because, I mean, why not? We don't have other content to highlight, so we don't have contrast problems in this poster. It looks pretty decent, but we can add something because right now it looks pretty empty, so maybe we can add some text on the side of the image and actually on the left side of the poster. And by the way, friends, it's not a good thing to have references for every single detail of your websites. Just pick the ones for the direction and then go with your imagination. For instance, for this specific pin poster, I didn't really have a reference, a real reference, but I took some ideas that I have in my mind and I tried them out, and this is what came out. It looks nice, it looks bad, I don't know, let me know. And same thing for this small text, this small piece of text. I just want to add some details and to balance everything out because otherwise we have this poster in the middle of the page that actually we're going to move slightly on the left because we want to have a grid system in place that looks really nice and consistent, balance everything and make everything looks better. Another thing that we can try to do is to create a hole into the poster because right now we're losing a lot of the image in the background, and of course they took the photo, so it's important. It's really easy to create it. Just create a mask with a rectangle, copy and paste the image, move it inside the mask, group everything, and we have the perfect hole. Perfectly working and perfectly fine, super beautiful. I think that we can move this text in the middle actually because otherwise it looks awful. I'm pretty happy with the result and we can leave it like that. To add another layer of details, we can add a paper texture because on some part of the websites, because everything that is editorial basically is on paper, magazines, posters, etc. So why not to add a paper texture? I picked this one from Unsplash because I basically use Unsplash for every single asset and every single photo that I want to pick for any kind of website and project, and for paper textures because it's free, it's super easy to use, and it's really nice, high quality. And to actually create the paper texture effect, we want to use something like soft light or maybe screen. We can use screen and then change the opacity and the contrast. So after all the adjustments, we can see that we've added a lot of details and depth to the design, and as here and in the poster design, we have all these particles from the paper textures, and you can have a beautiful results just by adding these two things. So again guys, I can't stress this enough, but think about the details because these are the things that make you stand out from the competitors, from your competitors, and from other designers. So as you saw friends, using references for your projects is just a matter of seeing the concepts behind the references that you took from all over the internet. An exercise that you can do to get better at that is to take one image and then remixing the concept, trying to understand the concept behind that design and remixing it to create something new, something different from what you have seen. Try that and let me know in the future if it helps. By the way, if you want to see more on other videos or maybe in a mini-series about that topic, let me know in the comments down below. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to turn on the notifications, and I will see you in the next video.